G'day guys, back with the Outer Circle. So quite a few people have messaged me about the Leagues of Votann and the walking back of their rules after the community backlash. I have a few thoughts on it and on the tone of the video that was released. So, like a Greek man parachuting, some people consider the tone to be condescending, and I don't think it is. I think it's meant in good faith, but it is a little tone deaf. It references things like tournaments, and although joking, it's not just tournaments impacted by poor rules writing, even if they're the metric that they're using to balance things. Even casual gamers suffer from bad rules writing. It can turn a fun match into a painful experience just by playing the rules as written. Both parties are actually affected here, as either the squats player has to rein in their force and not play the army as intended when they purchased it, which dilutes their gaming experience, or the other player also suffers as they know they're pushing uphill the entire time, which means neither player is also happy. They're put in a position where they don't want to upset the other person. So, with that in mind, the company is doing the correct thing here with fixing their mistakes, and I genuinely applaud the move, and it's before the army fully releases. But let's be honest, we need to point out the fact that it never should have gotten to this situation in the first place. As I noted in a recent What Broke the Fans video, the company should have rules writing down to a science because they've had 40 years to do it. But, due to various factors, for some reason they just don't. We accept this situation as Warhammer fans, but that doesn't mean that we should remain silent on it. These downloadable fixes don't fix the very physical and very expensive book that people have bought, or the combination of units which people purchased believing that they would do one thing, and now they're going to do another. Therefore, I propose two solutions to this problem, either applied individually or together. First option, they release all the models and a PDF trial codex. Then, after receiving feedback on models, they print the actual book that will be the version used for the edition, hopefully avoiding the day one FAQ nonsense that we're all used to by now. So squads come out today, and then we get the codex in 3 to 6 months' time. That's what should happen. The alternate option is that they release the codex as a collector's item, and it contains art, painting guides, designer notes, things like that, and all that sort of stuff. And then they release the rules themselves for free in a digitally evolving format, and they set down a date for when the item will be revisited, clearly and succinctly. That way you know what you'll get and when you're getting it, and you'll know how long till the army gets revisited, and that means that it's set in stone for a time, which justifies your purchasing choices more because you know the performance of the force. I also want to take note of another video that Games Workshop released today, which actually came from the Age of Sigmar team, and how they use tournament data to balance the game. This is interesting as tournaments are min-maxed and are not representative of the hobby as a whole, making up a very small percentage of the total community, and the ways that people abuse the rules in tournaments is again not indicative of the entire community. So something that can be made to be broken in a tournament, for example, when used in regular play can start to feel very underpowered if they start nerfing it based on tournament feedback, which is very frustrating as a game mechanic. The team looks, apparently, at a 60-day global pool of rolling data, and they try to see if something they've noticed tends to be a problem that recurs across multiple countries in multiple events. They also note how the asymmetrical warfare, that is, two different forces with different sized models with different levels of power, and the different amount of players who are using them scales, and how it causes issues with balancing. And I've pointed out all these things before as being very real issues, which is why I have a lot of problems with basically the way they run nearly every game at the moment, which is just keep pumping out content for them. Because the more you add, the harder the job of balancing it becomes. Their target goal is 45 to 55% win-loss ratios. So a 5% margin of error on a perfect 50% win-loss rate. Sounds great on paper. But what is interesting to note here is that there are factions who will end up on the 45% end of the spectrum far more often, and a corresponding group that is always in the 55% zone. This is exactly the sort of thing I've spoken about them doing in the past, and it's very interesting to have it clearly expressed by them in their videos and to know that's exactly how I thought they operated. Obviously, This is without taking the sales team into account, because sales management will dip their dirty little fingers into the rules and change the balance deliberately in order to drive specific sales goals. And they will say, these rules, they don't represent the giant new model anywhere near well enough, so can you rework it to be stronger, which of course, well, it will undermine it, but that's fine. And it does exactly that. It undermines the poor rules team. That said, of course, sometimes the rules team just does a bad job. Case in point, I look at the handling of the Legacies of the Age of Darkness PDF, and just how much of a divide there is between the people who wrote it and the community. They've gone back and partially amended it once, and yet it's nowhere near what had to be done. The writers literally cannot fathom how the PDF has utterly failed to capture people's imagination. That concerns me, because in my mind it's obvious, so the fact they can't see it is really weird, because they say they've spoken with the community, but their actions demonstrate otherwise. So I have to ask, honestly, who are they actually talking to? And is it just a group of yes men who all run events all year round and they post the stereotypical open-mouthed selfie holding their new purchase of 14 Kratos tanks? Or is it something else? Obviously, I'm being deliberately over the top with that example, but you're lying to me and yourself if you say you didn't know exactly what I meant when I said it. The best people to go to, honestly, are realists. Naysayers to a fair degree, maybe not so far as myself, because I'm a very, very harsh taskmaster, but at the very least, go to people who openly disagree with at least some of the company's moves. I'm not talking a person who says, well, I'm not a fan of the new unit only having one of this special weapon. That's too mild a critique. I want a person who occasionally says, this is fucking awful. And don't be backwards in coming forwards. Honesty and integrity are key. When I review something, I show you exactly what I'm talking about and why I perceive it in a certain way. And that's how I've survived this long on YouTube despite my, salty persona. Because I'm honest. The sort of people I like watching for content that's honest are, say, What the 40K, Kirioth TV, Northern Exile, normal people talking about the things that are their passions. I like them because they'll all have the occasional little rant, a little salt sprinkled in here and there, but majority of it's very positive. You cannot use a Chapter Master Valrak or someone like him because he's too soft when it comes to the company. Very soft touch for balance across the entire game. And that's not to say I dislike him either or think he's a shill, because he's not. He has a genuine passion for the hobby, which I empathise with. I used to feel the same way. Also, as a side note, stop giving free kits, Games Workshop, to nonsense influencers who give you your 5 minutes in the sun for your product and then never touch it again. Those people are good for advertising, but terrible for retaining good advertising because they can't answer the questions the community may have when they go to them. Oh, this box set looks really good. How do I get into this game? Followed by, I don't know, I just got given this and painted it for free. Wow, what a great thing. Anyway, back on topic. Games Workshop did do the right thing here, but they shouldn't have let the situation spiral out of control and develop in this way in the first place. So good on them, but will they learn the lesson moving forward? Also, when will they come up with a formula for fixing an army that has sucked for a decade straight? Because they never seem to fuck up Space Marines, and yet they can't seem to nail Chaos Space Marines despite being so similar. They always end up in this really weird place where characters are powerful but the armies feel underwhelming unless you're min-max. And, well, Space Marines, well, they seem to have this broadly viable roster every edition. It's just something I've noticed. They're the one force that no one ever complains about. But anyway, that's just my own opinion on that particular thing, and is very true to the editions I know best, but I don't play enough 40k. In fact, I haven't played proper 40k. I read about it, I read Codexes and stuff, but I haven't played the game in like 10 years. Because ever since 8th edition, practically, even late 7th edition, 40k devolved into a bad place for me because of the terrible rules writing. So a lot of this is based on the way I interpret the current rules and watching people play the game, because I'm happy to watch lots of battle reports. I just think it's awful to play. Versus like Age of Sigmar, and Age of Sigmar's team have knocked it out of the park consistently, so kudos to them, because Honestly, they had the harder task. Age of Sigmar was set up in every way to fail from day one, and yet it has succeeded despite all of that. Versus 40k, which has everything going in its favour, and yet somehow they keep putting their foot in their mouth all the time. Anyway, that's it from me. Mac with the Outer Circle. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Contentious topic? Sure, but, well, it is what it is. Again, honesty, tell me if I'm wrong, why. Anyway, see you all next time.